Hello everybody, thank you for joining us. Today we are going to practice with our favorite comic character Wolverine, but what we are going to do is two different kinds of facial expressions. So let us make half this work area, but you could have two separate sheets to go at this. So to begin, I'm going to draw an oval, and in the oval we are going to put a set of lines. Try to be consistent with the oval, and please do make sure that it is an oval, not a perfect oval, but an oval nonetheless. More defined line here, a line here, a line here, and then we're going to do those two arcs right there and then bend them a little bit going here. And then we will put one arc here and one arc roundabout here. You will see the reason why we are doing this once we are through with this exercise. And then we're going to put in an oval right there, and again, just to keep the consistency, because we are having him look this way, not entirely that way, but this way in general, and a part of the face will be showing past. For that matter, if I could also request you to please put in another arc right here. That is the other half of the face, and this is the half more toward us. So here we go with another arc, and in this case this will be a little lower. Okay, you have those lines in place and we can begin. So what we're going to do is grab, you should do this exercise with a pencil. I'm just going about with a marker so that you could follow a little better and it shows more clearly. So I'm using this top line for his brow. So I did say that we are doing two facial expressions for this character. Now that does not necessarily mean that no other character can have these expressions. It's a very common expression, and yes, any other character can also have this expression. So here on this arc that we used, we are finishing off the nose here, all above, pretty much above that arc. So the brows, the eyes will be here, and the nose right here. Let's put in some details there. Let's put in some details for the eyes. Usually this is sort of a screaming, or you could say a battle cry pose, and when it's that situation, the eyes are somewhat squinty and tightened. So there we are, some bends of the skin right there. And then we are going to go with the feature that is going to define the scream or the battle cry, and that, as you have guessed, is a gaping mouth. Now, so as you can see that we have gone pretty much with a very wide gaping mouth. It just looks like an empty hole like right now, but we will of course come back to that in a second. Let us just put in some lines here to complete that area on the brow, around the temple and the brow, and then there's that cheekbone, some effect lines, and then we go with that characteristically long stretched chin with folded skin right there. Now do remember that this might be flexible to pull. I don't think any farther. That is why I've gone pretty much to a farthest point to exaggerate it more. You could have it a little smaller or less tall, but do remember that the jawline is only so much flexible. So in any case, if you have this outstretched, this is going to come back in toward the remainder of the face at some point. Just put in an ear there quickly, casually. Okay, so now inside here is very important, because that is also part of what determines the entire expression. So here we are just going to put in quickly a set of teeth. Now I would recommend again googling some images to see how they, because every character might have these placed differently. In reality, when their face is like stretched that much, you see that they are closer to the gums. So to begin, I would recommend first drawing the front end of the teeth. In this case, you could start here too, because, and for that matter here, but right here, the front first, and then have one tooth here on the, just behind that one, and then come back inside, just that far, not too much. And then of course you could play around with the details as much as you like, and for that matter this will pretty much be the same exercise right there. Now it doesn't really have to look like that. That looks actually a little like funny, and it's a little too articulate, but I'm just illustrating the point. And you could also go in further. That might actually look better, as in that somewhere around here. And then when you add in the details around the teeth, please do not forget that he's going to have the bit of that tongue somewhere in there. Be sure to use some lines, some crosshatch, leave some areas unshaded just to like show some effects there. And then of course the lower lip will be squished and somewhat like that. There will be, depending on character portrayal, variations, details that might have this or might not have it. Be sure not to add details without being certain about how it will look in the eventual placement. And there you have the eyebrows. Now, and then of course his very, very wild and characteristic hair. I'm not going to go into the details for the hair because our job here today is to do facial expression. And I will stick with the thick neck because with this pose there will be a bunch of details going into neighboring anatomy, and that is mostly the neck muscles and whatnot. So of course there is his there's that famous hairstyle that we can incorporate into this picture. And again, I'm just loosely throwing in details as we are moving to finish this first facial expression for dear old Wolverine. Now this is an expression that might not be used for somebody like Superman or somebody even like Batman, even though like he also grimaces a lot, but this is a scream, like a primal sort of thing. And of course it belongs to a character who is used to grunting, and that also brings characters like the Hulk to mind. Actually, Wolverine and Hulk, I've seen their illustrations in team up or books in which they fought each other. A lot of grimacing, a lot of screaming going on there, one way or the other. So there we have it. That is one face, and of course you will enrich this or make it better with your own details. So maybe you would want to like shade around here, or perhaps go with some effect lines right here. So again, it's going to make the picture, make your portrait richer every step of the way. But we now move on to the next portrait, and that is when it's Wolverine, it is best to not have something like a smile. He has to brood. So again, the frowning type of eyebrow, but the nose in this case ending somewhere around here on this arc. The eyes can comfortably sit around here, and of course you can put in all those little details even into the eyes once you are done putting down the essential sculpt. Now this is actually a character that, again, even though he has a costume, but there are variations of how he is portrayed. He's not necessarily the popular portrayal of Hugh Jackman as in the movies, and he's not necessarily he is not necessarily the one that is portrayed in the animated series. So we are just going to go for a happy medium between the two portrayals, and or the multiple portrayals, because when you are drawing him you could actually envision all those different things and just keep on incorporating them as you like it. That is one way of having fun with this character. But the other thing is that when you are putting down essential things like the beaten up and gruff face, you do not necessarily have to worry about making the character look very, very heroic, because Wolverine is according to what he does, not your conventional hero. So there you have some freedom of not having to make him majestic or gallant like Superman, or even another gruff hero like Aquaman, who's a king. So there you have to like bring out some sort of stature. Here, as long as you have pinned that gruff look and that frown, and you have a chin enough, and then you have popular elements like that facial hair going right about from this down the side. You could have some stubble, or you could do without it, but again there's different variations. He's also been clean shaven, have some lines right there, some details, again some stubble, and of course we do know that what does eventually define the character are those few things, like the hair, which is somehow, I don't know if he perms it that way or if it is just a natural mutant thing because of his mutation. It has this little points, these little points on the ends, and which actually separate the character almost immediately and give him that distinction that yep, that is Wolverine. So again, the mullet and the rest of the things do not have to necessarily be in sync with different portrayals there, but again, in this quickly put together exercise, we see that these are some of the common things that you need to look out for when you're drawing a portrait of this character. Again, as you put in details, you will be able to make him like stand out a little better. And do remember that if you are drawing him shirtless, he is a very hairy character, so here, according to the part of the body, is essential if it is a shirtless piece, and if you are giving him a costume. Now here's where we are going to have a little bit of different perspective. If he is wearing that costume, these should be essentially white in that case, the eyes. And of course the mask would go somewhere around here, and he would have those ears going all the way like so. And you can see that I have entirely changed the direction of this video, but that is our purpose, to cover as many different things as we can. And then on this end, yep, thing like that, and you would actually have a fairly decent masked Wolverine. For that matter, you could give him a mask here too. In this case, the famous things would be somewhere here. Those his extensions from the mask, and of course the hair would be tightened around somewhere here. So that is the little exercise there for two facial expressions of Wolverine. You can find different ways of doing it, but please do practice. Google up different images, check out different artists, and you can actually have a lot of fun drawing this character in different poses and variations with regards to his face alone, the different expressions. I mentioned that this expression does not belong to every other character, and Wolverine just happens to be one of those few that have the battle cry or the extreme facial poses because of his lifestyle. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was of some help. Please do hit like and subscribe. Keep in touch. Have yourself a wonderful day.